This video is brought to you by Manscaped. Use promo code OLIVE for 20% off and free shipping off any products on their website. Link in the description. Enjoy the video. The 2020 season. For those who don't know, that's 20 doubles, 20 triples, 20 home runs, and 20 stolen bases. It is an extremely rare feat only to be accomplished by the best players in the MLB who have basically all 5 tools at their disposal. Speed, power, contact hitting. You'll need all these tools and more if you're going to try and put 20 across the board in these stat categories. We've talked about the 40-40 season together and how rare that can be, but the 2020-2020 club is a different beast. From 1962, the beginning of the expansion era, to 2006, nobody did it. Only 2 players had accomplished it prior. Frank Schulte for the Chicago Cubs in 1911 and Willie Mays of the New York Giants in 1957. Then 2007 rolled around and 2 guys got it in the same season. We're going to talk about those seasons today because one of those players came away with the recognition he deserved, or you could argue maybe didn't deserve, while the others had his season ultimately forgotten. But before we get into any of that, just want to remind everyone watching that if you've been enjoying the content, hitting the red button below would really help me grow my audience and reach more baseball fans. We're at an all-time high for the people subscribed who are watching every videos at 25%. That's awesome. Let's keep trying to get it up, guys, and I hope you enjoyed today's video. Jimmy Rollins is a Phillies legend. He's the all-time Phillies hits leader, and he's a beloved figure in Philadelphia baseball history. His first full season with the club came in 2001, and from 2001 to 2006, the club was pretty successful, albeit with a bunch of second and third place finishes in the NL East. This was back when the Braves were finishing up their run of consecutive division crowns, the Marlins made their World Series appearance, and then the Mets took over briefly in 2006. 2007 would be the first year where the Phillies finally put the pieces together and won the NL East, but they wouldn't have been able to do it without the help of Jimmy Rollins. Rollins had an extremely special gift in terms of being able to steal bases with ease, hit for power, and basically never strike out. The man was an offensive machine, and when he hit atop the Phillies lineup, they became one of the best offensive teams in the entire MLB. They'd unfortunately get swept in the first round of the playoffs, but Jimmy Rollins' performance made 2007 a season to remember for Phillies fans. By season's end, Rollins had tallied up 38 doubles, 20 triples, 30 home runs, and 41 stolen bases to go along with an .875 OPS, a Gold Glove, and a Silver Slugger. This made him the first member of the 2020-2020 club since the beginning of the expansion era. Discounting the stolen base aspect, Jimmy Rollins was the first member of the 2020-20 club since George Brett in 1979. As you might have guessed, Jimmy Rollins set career highs in basically every major offensive category in his 2007 season. Home runs, RBIs, triples, extra base hits, OPS, OPS plus, weighted on base average, you name it, Jimmy Rollins set a new career high for himself. This would be the peak of Jimmy Rollins' career, and despite not being named to the All-Star team, Jimmy Rollins walked away with the National League MVP in 2007, the first shortstop to win MVP since Miguel Tejada of the Oakland A's in 2002. Now, the selection was met with controversy, but that happens in pretty much every MVP race, and you could definitely make the argument that because Rollins joined the 2020-2020 club, he deserved MVP. It's a historic MLB feat that hadn't been accomplished in multiple decades and probably wouldn't be accomplished again. But that's where your argument kind of falls apart, because in the American League, somebody else was having a pretty similar season. Coming off his first full season in 2006 where he led the American League in strikeouts, Curtis Granderson definitely had something to prove headed into 2007. What he gave the Detroit Tigers would surprise everyone. Grandy was a top prospect selected in the 3rd round of the 2002 draft, and the Tigers knew that he had a lot of potential in him, but little did everyone know that 2007 would be the awakening of Curtis Granderson. Granderson wasn't listed on the 2007 All-Star Game ballot, but he still received 376,000 write-in votes, the most for any player. Everyone knew Granderson had a good glove, but he finally used the speed that he showed in the field on the base paths, jumping from 8 stolen bases to 26 in just one season. Also hitting for way more triples, 23 to be exact, which would lead the MLB. He found his power stroke hitting 23 home runs and 38 doubles, and just like that, while Jimmy Rollins was lighting the National League on fire, Curtis Granderson had just matched him, joining the 2020-2020 club in the exact same season. The sheer unlikelihood of this entire situation speaks for itself, but 5 decades without somebody joining the club, and then 2 players doing it in the exact same season, both of whom didn't really display the power stroke beforehand. Because Granderson would go on to have some monster seasons later in his career, not all of his career highs were set in 2007, but plenty of them were. Doubles, triples, batting average, stolen bases, hard hit percentage, and WAR were all set in 2007, just the 2nd full season that Granderson played in the major leagues. The Tigers, coming off a World Series appearance, would finish 2nd in the AL Central in 2007, even with the help of Grandy's monster season. So was Granderson's season met with the same recognition as Jimmy Rollins's? Well, not exactly. It is true that the American League's race was a bit more competitive than the National League, so Granderson probably fell to like top 3, right? No. Try top 10. Here are the Fangraph WAR rankings for everyone that finished in top 10 of MVP voting in 2007. Rollins finished with a 6.5, which doesn't even register in the top 3 for the National League. First place would go to David Wright, who finished in 4th. And there's Curtis Granderson, all the way down at number 10, despite having the 3rd best WAR in the American League. Now, alongside Alex Rodriguez and Maglio Ordonez's 2007s, Granderson probably doesn't win MVP, but to have him finish in 10th is a crime. Conversely, Jimmy Rollins had a great season, but I don't even think that he was the best player on the Phillies that season. That might have to go to Chase Utley, who had a 7.7 WAR. Now, awards don't determine greatness, but I do believe that the MVP voting should factor in things like WAR, and I'm a big advocate for players getting recognition that they deserve and earned. And that simply didn't happen with Curtis Granderson. Maybe it was because his team didn't make the playoffs or he was still pretty fresh in the league, but to have him finish in 10th behind guys like Jorge Posada and Carlos Pena doesn't seem right to me, especially considering the accolade that he accomplished. Because of this, my brain is telling me that we should compare the two, and look at how their 2007 campaigns shape up side by side. If we look at standard stats on paper and the core stats of the 20s club, Jimmy Rollins does have an edge. He had more at-bats in more games, more home runs, more RBIs, and more stolen bases, while Curtis Granderson held a better average and a higher OPS. It's no secret that MVP voting used to be different just 10 years ago, factoring in pitcher wins a lot more and eye-popping categories like home runs and RBIs, and Jimmy Rollins definitely had advantage in those categories. Plus, a 41 stolen base season is nothing to scoff at. Going up against power Goliaths of the league like Albert Pujols and Ryan Howard, it's definitely nice to see the little guy get a win. But this doesn't excuse what happened to our good friend Curtis, and when we dive deeper into more advanced stats, you'll see why it's especially egregious. We already knew Granderson had a better WAR, but when we dive into on-base percentage, slugging percentage, weighted on-base average, weighted runs created plus, and OPS plus, Granderson owns Jimmy Rollins. Now, Rollins' numbers still size up well in the National League, and it's obvious that the MLB voters weren't as attached to these metrics as they are now, but still, the Grandy man got snubbed. But it's also just fascinating to see how these two 20s club seasons match up against each other, especially considering that they came in the same year. Would things have been different if Curtis Granderson was a Philly and Jimmy Rollins was a Tiger? Would it have been different if the Phillies didn't make the playoffs and the Tigers did? Would it have been different if Granderson had a few more years of major league experience? Or if Rollins was just in his second full season? These are questions we'll never have answered. But listen guys, it's important to know that I'm a huge advocate of not pitting two queens against each other. Both these 2007 seasons were awesome. It must have been amazing baseball to watch, and I'm sad that I wasn't a full-time fan just yet because I was too young. All that I have to remember them by are numbers on a Baseball Reference and Fangraphs page, so I can't discount the emotions of Phillies and Tigers fans and how attached they must be to these seasons and these players. I don't know that we're ever going to see another guy enter the 2020-2020 club again. It's an extremely rare combination of contact, power, and speed that we just don't see in a lot of guys. So as fun as it was to compare them against each other and try and figure out who deserved what award, in the end, none of that really matters. What does matter is that we remember these players and honor them for their talents. Both of these guys went on to have much deserved, long, fruitful careers, and it's entirely possible that we see them both in the Hall one day, and that's awesome. So I'll leave you with that. I'm the Jolly Olive, and I'll see you guys next time.